Hi everyone and welcome along to Get Stuck In. Loads to look forward to and back with. Martin Dixon and Dan Barber in due course. What a weekend it was for Jamie Snowden. He won the Coral Gold Cup with Datsalrightgino and earlier caught up with him. Right, joined by the hottest trainer in England now, Jamie Snowden. Jamie, first of all, for a Lambourn trainer to win the Coral Trophy, the former Hennessy, it's massive on your CV. Very well done.
That's very kind, Niall. Thank you. Yeah, it was a phenomenal day. Obviously, you know, we've all grown up watching Hennessy's of old, and I remember I started off with a lovely chap called John Duffsey down in the West Country, pointing down in the West Country. I was riding out there when I was sort of 14 and couldn't believe I was getting paid to ride out. And anyway, Duff would always tell me the stories about how his grandfather, Harry Duffsey, trained Stallbridge colonists to beat Arkle in the Hennessy, ridden by Stan Mellor years ago. And I don't know, it's stories like that that really sort of bring it back that actually, you know, history was written, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. You go over like Deadman, what he'd done carrying his weight performance, one man, one out of 10 stone, Coombe Hill for the Dennis family. You know, every year it's got that sort of story. And I suppose I'm up in the north of England, you're down in Lambourn, it's right beside you, it's massive.
Yeah, and that is very much the case. Obviously, when I was at Nicky's, Trebolgan won the Hennessy, and that was massive. And then when I started training here in Lambourn, Oliver Sherwood had Many Clouds who won it, and it's massive. It's not only a massive race in the British calendar, but it's you know, it's huge in the Lambourn area and Berkshire. So no, it's a great thrill.
I hope you had a sore head Sunday morning.
We certainly did. The voice is only just recovering now.
Good stuff. And we don't need to dust ourselves down and move on, because obviously Sandown at the weekend, a couple of big live chances again. I'll start with a mare you wear it well. A mare I've always followed. I remember her dam, Annie's Answer, was such a good race mare from the makings up here. And I thought I was really impressed with it, Weatherby. First start with a penalty. Yeah,
I was too. Obviously, she had a phenomenal year last year, winning those 2 Grade 2s, and obviously winning at Cheltenham under a penalty was no mean feat. And you know, she's really sort of summered very well, come out this year, and I thought her Weatherby run was really impressive.
Obviously the opposition, we know, but you know that the track's fine. You know that she's going to run under her belt.
Yeah, listen, we're under no illusions. It's no easy task, but you know, she's a racehorse, and ultimately we're here for sport and we're here for racing. And in the absence of a suitable race for her in December, we thought, let's go and take our chance.
Yeah, because after this, it sort of maps itself out, January, February, March, April, doesn't it?
Yeah, January, obviously, you've got Sandown. February, you've got Warwick and Cheltenham in March. So, and obviously that listed race in November. So November, January, February, March sorts itself out. But there wasn't really a suitable race unless we wanted to go up 3 miles at Kempton with her in December. So it kind of made sense to, I don't know, throw her in the deep end and have a crack.
And likewise for Colonel Harry, was really good at Chepstow. Is he going to go in the Henry VIII?
He is, yeah, very much so. He obviously won well at Sandown last year. He was 4th in the Tolworth there. He ran very well when second up at Kelso in their Grade 2. And he jumps brilliantly. He ran very well, obviously, on his debut over fences at Chepstow, where, you know, he beat Timurus. I know perhaps Timurus underperformed that day, but it was still a decent performance by our chap. And yeah, we're going to take our chance in the Henry VIII.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to go there with 2 live chances on another big Saturday. Well done, massive well done from everyone here from Sport and Life, and I hope the great run continues. Well done.
That's very kind. Thanks, Niall.
Well done. Always good to catch up with Jamie Snowden. Thanks for him to taking us a time out. And he's doing well, isn't he? He's building up quality and quantity. Good horses in the CV, as I said in that interview. Massive for a Lambourn trainer.
Yeah, the other thing as well, I think that can go missed is just how good Gavin Sheehan is at the minute. Just a jockey who promised loads in his early days, perhaps didn't kick on at the time, but I think he's riding better than ever, and he was just mustard at the weekend. To ride with that patience and confidence in a race like that, I thought was spectacular. So it's a trainer and jockey combo, which is massively one to follow. He's
a horse that we've seen a few times on track, and it's jumping. It's taken him a while. He's getting there.
Yeah.
And he's always had the engine, but it all clicked now.
Well, I think the trip was the big factor, wasn't it? You know, he spent a lot of his career racing over 2 miles, and it was just too short. And I think the pace of the races was just taking him off his feet a little bit and probably not helping with his jumping therefore, because he was just out of his comfort zone a little bit, and that obviously made a big difference. But Jamie Snowden operating at a 21% strike rate so far this season, which is, you know, one of his best ever. He's ahead of where he would have been at this time last year when he had another good year anyway, but seems a yard that you can very much rely on as a punter.
Yeah, and obviously speaking ahead of Sandown the weekend, he's got a couple of live chances there as well. I suppose what we want to know from you, let us know, was there a horse that caught your eye towards the spring festivals? Did we see a Grade 1 winner over the last 7 days? What do you think?
Well, I've seen plenty of interesting horses. I would be in a very much a positive camp from Hermes Allen's perspective. Saw him win at Newbury on Friday, and I thought there was a lot of depth to that race. We've been used to seeing the Berkshire Grade 2 novice chase as like a 3-4 runner race. It often doesn't tell us an awful lot in recent years. You look back at the last 10 runnings, it's often been won by an odds-on favourite. It's not been the most competitive of races, but I thought Hermes Allen faced genuine competition on Friday. Some horses that were coming through the handicap ranks. The race was run at a very strong gallop courtesy of Nickelback, who made the running, ended up finishing a really good second to Hermes Allen, but it was a proper test for him, first time out over fences. His jumping was brilliant, I thought, particularly second circuit, late on in the race when he needed to be good. There was a point up the home straight turning in, I thought he was maybe in a little bit of bother, but he really picked up, responded, kept his jumping accurate all the way up the straight to keep his momentum, and really finished off his race well, which is something the back end of last season he wasn't doing, but he had a wind up through the summertime, and judging by his finishing effort in what was a strongly run race at Newbury on Friday, I'd say that wind up has made a difference. And I think he could well be a Grade 1 winner over fences this season. He won the Challow last year, but I think there could be even bigger, better things to come from him in the spring.
Turner's sort of horse?
Yeah, I think so. And to be honest, he's kind of been, if you're looking towards your Cheltenham festivals, he's kind of been overlooked a little bit in terms of anti-post markets for that. There wasn't much movement. He's still available if you were interested at sort of 14 to 1 top price, I think, with some firms for a race like that, which would be the obvious race. And I think his ability is well over and above what he showed at Cheltenham last year anyway, and as I say, I think the key has probably been that wind operation having made a difference, and I do think that was tested to some extent at Newbury given the pace that Nickelback set, and he was able to then finish off and destroy them really on Friday, so I'd be very positive about him.
Easy to forget, didn't he go off 9-4 to beat Impaire Passe et al. Last season at the Cheltenham Festival? Yeah.
And he didn't give his running, did he?
No, he just didn't run his race.
He didn't run his race, and I don't think he was the same horse in the spring as what he had been, and probably what he is now. So, I wouldn't be of the view that the spring festivals over hurdles last year saw him as the horse that hopefully will maintain this season.
Mm-hmm. What have you liked?
Well, I mentioned him briefly. I think we might have seen two in the same race. Hatton's Grace. You've got Teahupoo now talk afterwards. I mean, is he going straight to the festival? His record fresh is unbelievable. Yes, maybe the ground wouldn't be as testing as he might ideally like, but he possibly could have won the race last year had things gone better. Who was ahead of him last year? Sire de Burley will be 12, and Dasho Drasha, who's scrambled home when the weights were in his favour in the long walk on Friday, wasn't it, when you were there? But I thought Impaire Passe emerged with his reputation, maybe not enhanced, but certainly not diminished. Teahupoo's record fresh on testing ground, tanked through the race, travelled better than Teahupoo, but it's one of those Teahupoo, trained to the minute, fit as he could have been, was just gnawing at him, wasn't he? Chipping away at him, and ultimately he did crack late on. I'm not saying there's a spectre called Constitution Hill who lies in the way at Cheltenham, and we're going to see him this weekend with some luck. But looking to head to Punchestown, for instance, don't think Constitution Hill will be going there. I think whatever happens between now and then, almost, I think there is a Grade 1 open hurdle with his name on it. I thought it was a massive return, and I definitely agree with the decision that most firms made that Teahupoo should now be favourite for the Stayers.
Did you see enough from Impaire Passe to think that he could beat Constitution Hill?
It was a pretty gross display of ability, wasn't it? To go through a race like that. Teahupoo is no mug. We know he's a real stayer at the trip, and he was never going to glide through the race and just quicken past, but I mean, he wasn't really off the bridle until the last. I mean, he was unbelievably impressive at Cheltenham last season. To me, I remember going into Cheltenham, chatting to you, thinking, I'm not sure 2.5's ideal for him. In the end, he was just so much better than them, it didn't matter.
Well,
Hermes had blown out.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of horses win that 2.5 mile race, drop back, be champion.
Istabrax.
Rock and Ruby did it, didn't he, as well? That's the way I'd be looking. That he's a flat out 2 miler, And if we are going to throw a spanner into the works with Constitution Hill, I still do have in the back of my mind Aintree last season, where I thought on the home turn this horse is just going to go and streak away. And I never thought he lacked for stamina, but I almost felt there wasn't a great deal left late on, which surprised me to some extent. And he's also they can't get him on the track, can they? If he didn't have bad luck, they'd have no luck at the minute with him.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to see him this week. It depends on the weather. Michael Buckley said on Tuesday morning that he didn't want a proper heavy ground, so obviously so close to Christmas, the Christmas hurdle at Kempton. What about novice-wise, Nick Anderson strong?
Well, we saw Jeriko du Reponet as well at
Newbury
on Friday. He won the first race on the card. Now, this is a horse that's been fired towards the head of the Supreme market. To be fair, he was in sort of first 3 or 4 in the betting anyway for the Supreme novices going into his hurdling debut on Friday. He didn't really do anything other than confirm that he's a really good prospect to me. Like, the form of the race is poor. He beat 2 Chris Gordon trained horses into second and third who had been beaten twice over hurdles each of them and been beaten by wide margins in their previous hurdle races.
The Nichols horse looked horrendous as well, didn't it?
Yeah, the Nichols horse was trying to run out.
Yeah.
The pace was slow. They didn't go quick. The time they recorded was a slow overall time. So you couldn't say anything about that performance, but he never came off the bridle, really. There was a brief shake of the reins off the home turn going into 3 out, but he quickly came back on the steel and cruised his way to win. But you couldn't look at that as a piece of form and say that it told us anything that we didn't or they didn't already know going into it. You know, he's obviously a horse that's got a reputation.
Before he won his point to point, he won his point to point in Kirkistown, just outside Portaferry, which is a sharp track, more rather than a stamina 3 mile. It's more of a sharp one. And it was the Saturday before Cheltenham, and I know Wilson Dennis owned him, Colin McKeever trained him, and the sort of 6 weeks before that where he was going to line up, obviously with Frost and where there was lots of people wanting to avoid him, and he had a big reputation before he lined up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him next. Yeah, and
he hacked up in his point to point as well, didn't he? But as a punter, I can't help but look at it and say, well, all of the noise is factored into the price. You know, and next time we see him will tell us, and he'll probably be odds on for a graded race next time, and that will actually tell us whether the noise is right. I couldn't, it may well prove to be that 8-1 for a Supreme novice is fantastic value, because after his next race maybe it'll be 6-4. But on the evidence that we've got, I'd say the reputation is ahead of a little bit ahead of the form as it stands at the moment.
Okay, that's our thoughts. What's your thoughts? Have we seen a Grade 1 winner for the Spring Festivals over the last 7 days? Do get in touch, let us know. Okay, it's time to give a couple of horses, hopefully, to keep in the right side. I think the tracker horse has been quiet so far this season, have they?
You've got a private victory on me already, because the thing of Rebecca's that I put up takes centre stage. I won't say what you called it, but it ran with Stoat, didn't it? Yeah, it was Goat.
It's there.
He ran like one.
People can find it.
He ran like one. He put his head in the air again. I think I might have to count that as a loss. Another win for Hannity. Still relying on Chock-a-Block at 4-6.
We haven't had too many runners, to be honest.
You're all shaped well in.
Right, just give us 2 for this week.
Right, he could be the one. Chris Gordon trains him now, ran in the 12:40 at Newbury last week, jumped really, really well, set too strong a pace, went a bit too hard, but had him in trouble 3 out, then got tired. It was his second start back from a long absence, chase debut, as I say, jumped really well on his chase debut. He can qualify for much weaker handicaps than the one that he was in at Newbury, and I think if they put him down in grade 0 to 120, 0 to 125, he'll be pretty hard to beat in that type of grade.
Okay.
I reckon I'm treading on his toes a bit. I got him first. Ed Keeper, who won that Newbury Staying handicap hurdle, well, it was a race full of unexposed ones. I think he was a handicap newcomer. Runner-up, Holy Smoke was a handicap newcomer.
You could put him in as well, to be fair.
Yeah, you could. Just love the way he opened up late on. I mean, others threatened, but he just powered on. He looks like he's got loads of size. He probably saw him before on the TV. You could see he's got
huge, big,
proper
powerful
scope.
horse he is, yeah.
So I thought he had a lot to recommend him. I'll just sneak in another one, completely contrasting horse, but in what I thought was one of the strongest Coral Gold Cuts we'll see, with loads of second season horses in it. A more established one, I thought Shake 'em Up Harry ran a massively eye-catching race with a view to drop him back for that 2.5 mile race on New Year's Day at Cheltenham, which he was 5th in last season, shaping well and not being seen to best advantage. I mean, you run out of excuses sometimes, don't you? But I don't think he wants 3.25 miles, and he basically led on the bridle at the 3rd or 4th last.
Okay. All right, there's a couple of horses to keep an eye on in the short to medium term. Hopefully They'll do a bit better than the previous ones. Okay, it's time for something for the weekend. Busy, a few races rescheduled, which is good. Just going to see the fight in fifth at Sandown, a couple of races added to Aintree on Saturday as well. We know we're going to get testing ground. Give us a couple of horses to give us a couple of winners. That's Christmas.
We need some. There's something to know about Sandown. 5-day entries are pretty small. I think we're going to get some fairly paltry fields. Whether the London National falls by the wayside to some extent in terms of number of runners, I don't know, but a horse who Martin might be putting up had went close in it last year, possibly even won it, who you're going to mention in a second.
Oh, yeah.
But a horse who I like this year is City Chief, who I just thought ran like he needed the race at Cheltenham on his return. I thought as a novice when he won the Towton and races like that, he looked a thorough stayer, and he's going to have a crack hopefully over that marathon trip, and I'd definitely have him clear favourite.
City Chief and the London National Stand.
And I think the Beach is an interesting race to have a pop at anti-post before declarations, because Kirker Beach, I would say, is likely to be declared because there's not that many options for him in Ireland. If he is declared, he will keep pretty much half of the 17 entries out of the handicap, including the current second favourite anti-post Percussion, who would be well out of the handicap if Kirker Beach was declared, and plenty more would be as well. Houston, Texas, I think he's about a 10-1 shot for the race, and he'd be nearly a stone out of the handicap if Kirker Beach runs. So I can see that market changing shape pretty drastically if Kirker Beach declares and it's confirmed that loads of the horses are out of the handicap. One horse that won't be is Highland Hunter, who I think would have a very good chance. He came back off a long absence, debuting for Fergal O'Brien at Kelso, ran really well behind Elvis Mail, had the likes of Korak Rambler behind him. It was a decent race, wasn't it, at Kelso? And it showed that he retains his ability. He's still a couple of pound lower than when he was second in the Welsh National a couple of years ago when he was with Paul Nicholls. He likes proper soft ground, which I think it will be on the national course at Aintree, with rain forecast sort of on Thursday. They're due about 10 mils of rain. So it'll be a good staying test. Soft ground suits him. He's had plenty of time since his comeback run at Kelso to get over that and still be primed for Saturday in the Beecher. And like I say, he'll be in the handicap. He's currently about a 12-1 shot generally, and I think that'll shorten up quite markedly.
By Thursday morning,
by Thursday morning.
Beach is declared.
Yeah.
All right, that's your one.
I'm also banking on this potentially testing ground at Aintree. A horse who cannot have it soft enough. Also running that Kelso race, Empire Steel, went with bundles of zest from the front. He'll be best remembered last season for nabbing Lamilos late on. I mean, that day he looked a real stayer. It's 2.5 at Aintree, admittedly, but he's not slow. He's always been a pretty strong travelling horse. Loves the mud. I can just see him getting into a rhythm. I thought 8-1 looked fairly big for him because you won't see many horses who jump as well as he do. He's a proper bold athlete, and he'll be going around those mile-made fences on testing ground. If there are mile-made fences jumped, because that's been a bit of an issue, but he might keep galloping anyway if there's about a 7 furlong running. Okay,
there's your three horses, hopefully, that will win this weekend. It's been a funny old week, isn't it? Frankie Dettori's left the jungle, Davy Russell's dancing on ice, Ocean Murphy's riding over hurdles. What else? These are my tip winners. We'll see you next week.